welcome to Phillip Island, Victoria in Australia. What a setting we have for this great sporting contest, the Little Penguin Sea to Dune race. Nervous moments always as they gather on the beach, the tension mounting, and away they go. There's the defending champion, wearing his familiar navy blue and white, great waddling style. Another pre-race favourite though, losing touch with the pack. Maybe that's why. A few too many fish in the day's feeding. There's a familiar face, Skip McIntyre, 8 times a champion back in the 90s, a very successful coach now, keeping a keen eye on proceedings. This the leading group, 1 or 2 still able to put on a show for the camera, others just ploughing straight over it. Some resorting to shortcuts. Sad that cheating has crept into this beautiful sport. The judges will have a look at that. But up at the front, the pace is relentless, closing in on those sand dunes that will offer a bed for the night. The fatigue starting to tell. Who's got the finishing kick up on the outside? What a turn of pace from that one, whichever one it is. No answer from the rest, and he takes victory. What a win. There we are, into the Burrow, building an extension with his winnings, and back tomorrow to try and defend his title here on Phillip Island.
Definitely nothing.
Hello and welcome everybody to another night of Penguin Live TV. I am Viv and I am here to take you through the Penguins' journey tonight. We have also got Jordan helping us out today. Come on in here.
Hello everybody, very, very excited to be back again for another fun night of live Penguin TV. I am going to be monitoring your Facebook and YouTube comments this evening, so please give us your curliest Penguin questions tonight and I'll do my best to chuck over a couple of really good questions to Viv throughout the stream, and I would love for everyone to guess how many penguins that they think crossed the beach last night, because we're counting the penguins every single night here at the Penguin Parade. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, Jordan. Before we start, I do want to say we've been having a bit of trouble with some spammers in the comments lately. So if you see someone putting a link to any Penguin TV in our comments or anything that's not from us, please do not click it. We will never ask you to pay to watch Penguin Live TV. Now, to the Penguins. So before I start as well, I want to say Womanjika, well, not to Malau. Well, I'm on Malau. Jordan's on Malau, but I'm going to guess a lot of you guys aren't. Malau is what we call Phillip Island, and that is the traditional name for Phillip Island given to it by the Bunurong peoples. And the Bunurong are the traditional landowners of Phillip Island and much of Bass Coast, going up to halfway to Melbourne. And so I want to acknowledge and pay my respects to the ancestors past, present and emerging, because of them we're able to view the penguins on this land today. I would also like to thank you guys so much for coming to watch us, watch penguins with us at the moment. It's a shame that we can't have everyone here. We do have the pleasure of having some regional Victorian people joining us. And if you're in regional Victoria, check out a competition that we do have on our Facebook page for some free tickets next week. Hopefully Metro Melbourne will be able to join us very soon as well. Here at Phillip Island Nature Parks, we're a non-for-profit organisation and we are visitor funded. So every time that you visit us at the parade or any of our sites, buy any souvenirs or anything, it goes directly towards helping protect the penguins, the koalas we've got the seals out past the knobbies, and we've got the gorgeous bandicoots as well. Now, out there I have seen a raft of penguins, so I'm going to go see if I can still spot them. Let's have a look-see. All right. So right now the penguins are forming their groups, which is the raft, and they're all having a good old chat to each other going, hey guys, come with me. I'm getting there.
Oh, sorry. I'm too excited.
Having a good chat to each other, forming their groups for safety in numbers. So you would have seen in the comments a lot of people greeting each other with the hucking, which is Jordan. Are you ready? Going, hey guys, come with me. I really don't want to cross the beach on my own. So you can kind of see it's getting dark now, so it's a bit trickier to see. The shadow in the middle there, if it'll focus, is the raft of penguins all forming their groups. So you can just sort of see their little heads bobbing up and down. And so what they'll be doing is they'll be watching the sunset on the beach behind the camera. And as it gets darker, as they're romantically watching the sunset, they're going to come on in and swim in closer and closer. Oh, that's a bit better view. All right, so these penguins, the little penguins, they are the world's smallest species of penguin, and because of that, they are very easily to be mistaken as food by a lot of different predators. So the main predator that we're worried about here are big birds of prey. So we've got white-bellied sea eagles, hawks, harriers, and of course the Pacific gull, which is basically a giant glorified seagull, and they would all love to have a little penguin given the opportunity. But the penguins have outsmarted these birds of prey. They do come in after the sun has set because birds of prey go to bed when the sun sets, so it keeps them nice and safe. But just in case some of these birds decide to stay up past their bedtime, the penguins are crossing in those groups because a big group of penguins is probably a bit too much for one bird of prey to take on their own. Alrighty, Jordan, did we have any guesses for last night's, or any good guesses?
We do. We have lots and lots of people in the comments who have given their guesses as to how many penguins they thought crossed over 50 minutes last night. So we had some pretty close guesses. The total for last night, are you ready for a drum roll, Viv?
Yep.
Was 1,159 penguins. And we had Jenny and Jason, I think, had the closest guesses that I could find. Jenny guessed 1,032 and Jason guessed 1,234. So good work, guys.
And you can thank me for winning that because I did count all of those penguins last night. So you're welcome for being so good at guessing. No, that's not true. All right, so last night the penguins came in at about 6:11. So we imagine they'll be here at around a similar time, but probably a bit later. We had lots of dark clouds overhead last night. And when the clouds are nice and dark, it makes the penguins think the sun has set a little bit earlier, so they tend to come in a little bit earlier. So we'll see what they feel like doing tonight.
We're not going to rush the penguins. We're just going to let them come in when they're ready.
Oh, I might rush them. No. If only we could. So I'm sure we've spoken about it on here before, but a few weeks ago we had a very interesting foggy night, and I think that's the night we would have loved to have been able to rush penguins. It was so foggy, the penguin counter couldn't see penguins, plus they had no hope of being able to count those penguins, so the plus ranger had to help them out. And I can't remember how late they were, but it was easily 20 minutes or half an hour later than the previous night. And we had a total of 28 penguins cross, because the penguins are using their landmarks to find their way home, whether that is certain rocks in the water or the lights that we've got from the penguin parade and us being here every night. And they couldn't see them. Without seeing those landmarks, they were like, well, no, I'm not coming home now. I'll come home tomorrow because I want to make sure I can actually get home. So a lot of people think the penguins go in and out of the water every night, and that's just not the case. They will do that if they've got little tiny chicks that they need to feed, but for the most part, they're going to go out for a few days or a few weeks at a time, depending on what they're doing. So if they've got, if they're breeding, it might be a few days, and in winter, the penguins who haven't started to breed yet, they're going to be out there for a few weeks, coming home only when they need to do some housework. So hopefully, I've heard that we've had some shell gritters on the stream, so we're getting some good breeding behaviour, which is lovely. So hopefully we'll see some more shell gritters or breeding behaviour tonight.
Now, Viv, if we have some first-time watchers, I've just been told by Tom, who's counting tonight, that there are some penguins at the water's edge. He didn't say where, so we might have to search for them a little bit.
Yeah, let's go.
But if we have any first-time watchers out there, people might not know what a shell gritter is. So would you mind explaining that, Viv?
Very good point. So when our penguins, nope, that's rocks. Even the best of us mistake rocks for penguins. All right. So when a female penguin is about to lay her eggs, she is going to go back to the ocean to eat little tiny bits of shell. I cannot see any penguins because these penguins, they're very good parents, and she has kindly sacrificed all of her own calcium. Oh, here they are. Kindly sacrificed all of her own calcium to be able to form the hard shell of those eggs. And so she has then made herself calcium deficient. So she's going to go back to the water so she can eat little tiny bits of shell grit, little tiny shell pieces that are full of calcium to restore her own calcium levels, which means basically if penguin's walking the wrong direction, it's probably a shell gritter this time of year.
Exactly. So keep an eye out, everybody. If you see any penguins are looking a little bit lost and they're going the wrong way, let us know, because Paula, one of our research technical officers, want to know if we see any shell gritting activity, which might be an indication we'll be able to get an egg boom any time now.
Oh, I hope so. All right. This is always my favourite part, watching them stumble clumsily over the rocks. So I don't know, I always feel like I sound like I hate penguins because I'm like, oh, look at them fall over, they're so silly. But, like, let's be honest, penguins are built, if they're spending weeks at a time in the water, they're very well adapted to water life. They only spend about 20% of their time on land. If you want a focus camera, that would make my life easier. So because of that, they are extremely well adapted to the water, and that makes them clumsy and ridiculous on land. And I know for me, that's why I love them. I can really relate to a clumsy, ridiculous animal that can barely walk without falling over nothing. And like, look at them all down here. All right, let's put them in the middle of the screen without getting too many people there. As they try to jump over these rocks, like half of them are landing on their bellies. Like,
They're so graceful, aren't they?
They're so graceful. You can't not love them. If anyone tells you they don't love penguins, I would run away. Run very far away.
Now, everybody, we do have a few guesses in the comments as to how many penguins you thought crossed in that group. So I'll give you a couple of more minutes to try and get some good guesses. There's some pretty close, but let us know and I'll give you a shout out if you're the closest.
Thanks, Jordan. And we've got another little group making their way across already, so that's good for us. Oh, let's switch to the highway cam. Quick. Oh, look at them go. We've got some right fatties in that one. Sorry, should I say certified chunkers?
Oh,
yeah. Oh, they're just so cute. All right.
Now, in the penguin world, it's an advantage to be a certified chunker, as you say. Why is that, Viv?
Why is that? Well, the fatter they are, the better they are at fishing, obviously. So we want them to be able to be really good and at fishing, because if they're really good at fishing and really healthy weight themselves, I really shouldn't say fat because they're not fat. Fat is healthy for the penguins. Oh, something spooked them.
What could it be?
I don't know. Let's zoom out, see if we can see anything. Have we got any naughty geese around? Maybe it was Ranger Ebony. You reckon she would have spooked our penguins?
Never.
A big fat penguin is a healthy penguin. It means that they're really good at catching fish, which means they're probably going to be really good parents at being able to feed their fish. So we have noticed that even though it's really hard to tell visually, that the females do seem to prefer the fatter male penguins because of that.
Absolutely. Now, everybody, I want to put you out of your misery because Tom just let me know that first group of penguins that we saw across the beach, there was 175 penguins, and the closest penguin guesser that I found in the comments was, apologies if I don't say your name right, Ruzika at 179. So you were 4 penguins off. Well done, Ruzika.
That is a great first raft.
And there was 46 in that second one. So good work, everybody. Keep those guesses coming.
Lovely. Okay, so I'm going to just go over to the hill. So one of the things that we've been able to do here is let the penguins keep their hill. No, we used to have a housing estate going up the top of this hill here, and I believe that these were the stairs to a hotel or something at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously having a housing estate with hotels in the middle of penguin habitat is not great for our penguins, so we were able to remove them. And as far as I know, this is the only time people have been essentially kicked out of their homes for a single animal. And so we had the buyback program, and we were able to remove all of those houses and everything for the protection of the penguins. And so the penguin numbers in the 80s were sitting at around 12-ish thousand and have gone up to 32,000 today, thanks to being able to remove those houses and remove foxes. I just say that because that hill is one of the things that the penguins have kept from the housing estate, and they've got a couple of other main roads from the housing estate as well, because they form their pathways, and the pathways are a big part of how they figure out their way home. And they're very, very strict about their pathways. If you move their pathway, they're going to get really cranky and a little bit confused. So we do prefer not to upset them or change their pathways too much. Now, Jordan is busily writing away, so I'm thinking we've probably got a few questions.
I have a waddle load of questions, everybody.
That's bad. Hun.
So you mentioned that we have the little penguins here, Viv.
Yes.
Louis would like to know, are they fairy penguins or are they little penguins? What's the difference and what is their scientific name?
Okay, great. That's a really great question, Louis, and it's a bit of both. So they were known as the fairy penguins when I was a kid, and probably when Jordan was a kid as well. But that was changed to little, because over between Australia and New Zealand, they were called little penguins or blue penguins or little blue or fairy, and it got very confusing. And I don't know about you, but if I thought something was a fairy animal, I would think they're really nice and cute and playful and lovely. And penguins are not. They bite and they smack you a little bit if you try to go anywhere near them, and I just don't think they depict fairies very well. So instead we call them little penguins after their scientific name, which I always pronounce wrong, as Eudolipt minor, which means good little diver. And so since little is in their scientific name, we call them little instead.
Very good. And do we have any other species of penguins here in Australia, Viv?
Unfortunately not. We sometimes get a random stray penguin wash up on one of our beaches, usually a young one that's gotten lost somehow. And when that happens, it's taken either to our wildlife rehab clinic that's on site that we have, or to Zoos Victoria as well. And that way we can look after them, see if they need help, and then re-release them, which I believe there was one fairly recently. I don't remember.
Oh, really good question. There has been a few over the years, but I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I don't recall. That might have to be us. We might have to go back and do a little bit of research and bring you back the answer tomorrow.
I saw it on the news recently somewhere, but I don't know if it was, I'm imagining it wasn't us then. It might have been somewhere else. Perhaps it was on the other side, maybe Geelong way, where there was, I believe, a yellow-eyed penguin had washed up, and they ended up releasing it, hoping it would make its way back to New Zealand. Since New Zealand do have 3 species of penguins, lucky them, that's generally where the lost ones have come from for us.
Now, on the topic of different species of penguins, Viv, Jean D wants to know what our second favourite species of penguins are. And of course, obviously, little penguins are our favourites.
Obviously.
So what's your second favourite, Viv?
I think I really like the Adelie penguins, because I really like going to the aquarium and just sitting there and watching them for way too long. What about you, Jordan?
You stole my answer, Viv. I was
really?
going to say the Adelie penguins as well, because they steal rocks. They're really cheeky. I believe they steal... Oh, look at that nice big group coming up now. Because down in Antarctica, in the subantarctic, in the cooler climate, they steal rocks from other penguins to create their nest, which I think is hilarious, and they are super cute.
They are. They're ridiculously cute. But I think some of the ones with the funky yellow eyebrows would have to be pretty close in there too, just because they're so funky.
They're
and
pretty
they've got
groovy.
Really great fashion sense.
Oh, for sure.
All right, we've had quite a few running back tonight, and I haven't seen any geese or wallabies being cheeky. So if you've seen anything that might be setting off our penguins and upsetting them a bit, let us know. I'm trying to watch the highway and not miss any of them because the highway camera is my favourite. We get to see them up close, get to see their fat little tummies and watch them fall over or look at themselves in the mirrors depending on their mood. Now, our research team doesn't like to say that penguins have personalities because we don't want to I shouldn't have even tried to say that. Anthropomorphize them too much because they are wild animals. They don't have the same thinking as we do, but they totally do. No. Like you see some who are like really on a mission. They're like, I've got to go home. Nothing will stop me. And others who are like, I'm just going to plod along behind. I don't care what's happening. And then the big old chickeny penguins who run back to the water every single time because they're just terrified of everything. You can see they've all got their own little range of behaviours is probably the more scientific way to put it, not personality.
Yeah, absolutely. And these ones are all fully grown little penguins here, everybody, so they don't get much bigger than that. But speaking of smaller penguins, here we go. Here's Brucey Goosey or Goosey McGooseface.
Yes.
How are we doing there, buddy? Now, actually, why don't you talk about the goose and then I will ask you a question. How's that?
All right. Goose-penguin interactions are probably one of my absolute favourite things here because the geese, they're usually just minding their own business, but this time of year, the geese are extra aggressive. And I don't know about you, but if I came across a goose, I'd be scared of them. Geese are that's a really good sized raft. All right. So, Geese are terrifying. Geese can be mean. They charge at you, they honk at you, and they tell you exactly what they're thinking. And the geese are easily 4 or 5 times the size of penguins, probably more than that. And look at their little sprint, they're almost home, and this one left behind. So penguins, fair enough, are scared of geese. And so right now the geese are extraterritorial because they breed in the winter, unlike a lot of other animals. Oh, we've got another one joining in the top right. Come on, dude, you can make it. No, he's not even trying now.
He's going to run back?
I don't know. He's probably just going to sit on the beach and enjoy the view.
Why not?
So he's one of those brave penguins.
Brave or silly?
Oh, a bit of both. Brave, silly. Why will you not focus on my penguins, please? All right.
So would you like a question, Viv?
Yes, I totally got distracted by my goose. But yeah, basically...
don't we all?
Let's see if the goose is still here to upset these penguins. Because the penguins don't know what to do with the geese. I don't know if they want to go around the geese or if they want to wait for the goose to move. And the goose is just having some dinner, but you never know.
Never know.
All right, we'll go with the question while we wait to see what this goose is going to do with the penguins.
Beautiful. Well, we've had this question asked by 2 different people and 2 different people inside of those comments. So there's 4 people that want the answer to this question. We have Michelle and Olivia and Nicole and William. All of them want to know, how deep do penguins dive?
Okay, I have forgotten all of the names immediately. It was Michelle, Olivia, Nicole, and William.
My gosh, well done.
Ooh, yes. How deep do penguins dive? So penguins are good little divers, again. They can dive up to 72 metres is the deepest that we've been able to find. We put this little tracker on them that was able to see how deep they go, and that was the deepest we've recorded. But generally more, they're going to go, I think, the 20 to 50-ish meters more often, but they're diving up and down, up to 1,000, 1,500 times a day for fish. They get a whole lot of exercise, and that's a big part of why when they're out there, they don't come home unless they have to, because they're taking so much energy diving for fish and then having to come home and deal with silly geese that it's not worth it coming home. They might as well stay where the fish are until they have to. All right, let's see. Are these penguins going to be brave? The goose isn't on their footpath today, which is nice.
We don't have Goose Gate. What are we at, 4.0 now?
Who knows? Have a Goose Gate per lockdown, maybe.
That's exactly
so that's good. The goose isn't too close, so the penguins just decided to be a little bit more cautious before passing. But when the goose is on the footpath, that's when the penguins get really nervous.
So you've talked a little bit about why penguins might be a little bit nervous coming home. And Penny would like to know if dogs are a danger to penguins.
If dogs are a danger to penguins, absolutely, Penny. So we don't allow dogs on this part of the island because dogs will I don't know. My dog wouldn't because he's 15 and he's fat and lazy, but sorry, Jasper. But yeah, lots of dogs would try to go for a penguin if they got the opportunity. It's just so many of them have been over hundreds of years trained to hunt things that they would love to take a penguin. But even if I brought Jasper down here, who I know is harmless to penguins, the smell of Jasper as well as the sight of him, if he was doing anything silly, would be terrifying for these penguins. But in saying that, we do allow service dogs where necessary, because service dogs have been trained. You can see the goose from here. Hello. Service dogs have been trained to be able to minimize their presence in a way that will upset our penguins.
Exactly, and some things, if you do ever come and visit us here on Phillip Island and you've got your beautiful little pooch with you, please make sure you only take it to dog-friendly beaches and obey the signs at all times. We do have an off-lead dog beach in Cowes, which is the main town here on Phillip Island. But yeah, just please be mindful of the laws around our different beaches. It's not just penguins. We have, what other animals might we be protecting by keeping your dog on a lead, Viv?
Oh, I don't know. What else do you know? We have got our precious hooded plovers down here. So I've got a little hooded plover badge, but he's going to be really hard to see around all my hair. So little hooded plovers, they're tiny. I think they're like the size of a golf ball or something ridiculous. And they like to breed in silly places, namely straight on the sand without any care for what's around. Because back when Australia didn't have us here around, they didn't have any cats or foxes or dogs who would be able to be too much of a threat. So they have their tiny little camouflaged eggs right on the beach, and their biggest threat was the tide or birds being able to figure out that their egg is actually an egg, not a rock or something else hidden there. But now when we have dogs on the beach or people on the beach who aren't aware of where these eggs might be, you end up with them being eaten by dogs or accidentally stood on by dogs or played with by anything really. So most of our beaches during the hooded plover breeding season will be roped off in certain areas where there is hooded plovers breeding. And during that time, we recommend that, obviously don't have your dogs there because that's not allowed on those beaches, but also try to make sure you walk on the wet sand because the hoodies will always breed in the dunes up towards the top. So if you're walking on the wet sand, you're not going to be upsetting the hooded plovers or risking standing on any of their nests either.
Absolutely. And if you are keen to help us protect penguins and hooded plovers and all of our other native species here, you can actually, I believe, adopt a hooded plover through the Penguin Foundation as well. You can adopt a penguin, you can adopt an Easter bar bandicoot, a seal. So if you're really keen to learn a little bit more about hooded plovers, make sure you jump on our website and check it out as well. Great answer, Viv. I love it. It was I don't think we've really talked too much about hooded plovers, but we've got lots of different cool birds, including this little star of the show.
I've got a thing for geese. I think they're funny. But yeah, we also do volunteers with the hooded plovers as well. Thank you for reminding me. Where you can join us and do hooded plover watch, where we basically just make sure that we watch their behavior and try to educate people on where they are and what they're doing. So we have binoculars and telescopes out so people can go have a look at them, and also try to make sure they're not getting too close as well. Where are you guys going? I was over here waiting for you to come and they've decided to go around. All right.
Now, sorry, Viv, you talked a little bit about your experience volunteering, and we have a question which you will be very, very good at answering. Chris wants to know how deep penguin burrows are, and I believe you have some very personal experience on that.
I do, because again, when I was volunteering many moons ago, we didn't have the technology that Jordan and Megan have gotten to use, so we had to pull every penguin out of their box in the areas that we were studying, which meant we had to put our arm shoulder deep into there, all through the entrance, which was covered in poo and mud and all the fun things that penguins like to bring home. And basically for all the boxes, highway quick, for all of the boxes, you would be able to touch the back of the box when you have your shoulder in there. So generally, yeah, it's going to be your tip of your fingers will hit the back of the box, your shoulders in the door, and that's how deep it is. And it's not going down. It's really just plonked straight onto the ground there. Usually, there's another goose. Oh, yes. Yeah, thank you, Jordan. She's just given me the 5-minute limit, guys. What a shame.
But it could be a Jordan and a Vivian 5 minutes if you so wish, Viv.
But yeah, it's just plonked on the ground, usually in areas where the land has been changed a bit, possibly from where there used to be houses or roads or other buildings. Sorry, guys. Or because the environment has changed so much that it's not quite suitable for them to dig anymore. So we're not giving them homes just for the sake of it. It's in areas that they would otherwise live, but they can't because of the changes in the vegetation and everything. Is that Goose on the move? Oh yeah, he is. That's why they've all run off. Yeah, so I think last I heard it was only about 8 or 9,000 boxes on the island for 32,000 penguins. So nowhere near all of them or even most of them have boxes, although they do prefer boxes. We have noticed that when the juveniles come home for the first time and have to pick where to live, their first preference is an unowned box, which they will then hopefully move into, but if the owner comes home and kicks them out, they will then have to try again. If that doesn't work out, they're going to try to move into an unoccupied burrow, so the natural burrow, which is usually just dug in the ground. Actually, let's see if I can find anything. Dug in the ground around all of this lovely native vegetation here. So he is stood right next to his burrow. You won't be able to see. Oh, please move.
Get out of the way, person.
But basically you can kind of see a couple of holes in the ground around here, if it'll focus, that they use the vegetation to keep it nice and stable so it doesn't collapse in on itself. Absolute last resort for a penguin if they can't find a box or an unoccupied burrow to live in is they will build their own home, because let's be honest, who wants to do that? That sounds like a whole lot of effort.
Mortgage-free penguin homes all the way, please.
Absolutely. What is that penguin on the highway doing? He's just... Oh! He really wants to say hello to these penguins, apparently. He was waiting, and now he's like, I wasn't doing anything weird. I'm part of this raft, obviously. These are my buddies. I was here the whole time. All right. Do we have any more questions before we start to get ready to wrap up?
I reckon I've got a few more ready for you. So we've got... First one, a nice and easy one, is from Michael. What is the oldest penguin we have on record?
Yes. So the oldest penguin that we have ever found and have recorded was just around 26 years old, which is massive. We basically think the penguins have got an average of, 7-ish years old. Andre, our penguin specialist, has said that a penguin is senior at around 11-ish years of age, kind of how a dog gets senior at 7. So yeah, they've got quite a large range of ages there.
Well, on the kind of topic of ages, Jenny wanted to know, how old are females when they can start breeding?
Great question, Jenny. Sorry, I'm multitasking here. It's such a new talent I've got to learn. So when penguins first go out to the water for the very first time, they have a bit of a gap year where they learn all the best fishing spots and how to figure out how to get home and all of that important things that penguins need to do to be able to survive. And after that, they come home around their first-ish birthday, but it won't be until their second or third year back is when they're going to start breeding. So they've got a little bit of time to figure out how to be an efficient penguin before they can even think about creating more little penguins. Oh, this goose has gone on the run this time.
Oh, and sorry, I was just reminded of something that Megan wanted me to tell everybody.
Yes.
She made a little bit of a mistake last night, a little bit of a slip of the tongue, and she said that penguins have something called a crop, which is like what a chicken has. Penguins don't have crops. She's like, I don't know why I said it. It just slipped out. And I know a couple of people were wondering on the live stream if this was true or not. No, it is not. They have quite a long esophagus. So Megan apologizes sincerely for that. She said she feels like a dummy, but we all know she's not a dummy. Tell us in the comments how much you love her so that she's not feeling like the dummy that she thinks she is.
Or call her a dummy in the comments. No, don't.
No, don't do that.
Fun question. If you Google penguin crop, it comes up with penguin milk, and I haven't had time to actually look into what that is, but it looked like it was going to be a fun read.
I think it was something about how they regurgitate food for their chicks and it's like a milk, but ugh.
Oh, like how we used to call it fishy soup before Andre told us about the penguin refrigerators.
Oh, tell us about the penguin refrigerators,
yes.
Viv.
So we used to think that when they regurgitated and lovingly threw up their food for the babies, that it was a big old fishy soup that they'd partially digested. But it turns out penguins have this really handy ability, and they can change the pH of their stomach. So that way it's going to stop digesting entirely, waiting for... I'm going to get ready to go to the highway, waiting for the chicks. Here we go. They're coming, penguins. So they're going to they're throwing up whole delicious fish for their babies instead of the fishy soup. So we call them, oh, hello. We call them the little refrigerator because they're able to just hold their fish there nice and healthy, nice and cool, waiting to give them to their chickies. Now I moved to the highway way too early because they are just not coming here. They must have all decided to go up the hill instead, which is just rude.
They probably knew you were going to go to the highway and they've gone, you know what? We're going to mess with Viv.
Oh, every time I go on a tour and I'm like, yep, so there's been these penguins here the last 3 days when they're breeding and they start to show off and poke their heads out of the burrows for you to see in daylight. Every time they're not there. No. So just I should stop expecting penguins to do what I want or making promises. All right, I think we're going to have to wrap up or I'm going to start.
All right, one more question, one more.
This is what you get with Jordan, isn't it?
See, I can't deal with 5 minutes. It's too short a time. So, all right, I've got a couple more questions written down that... Oh my God, hello everybody. So we've got a few questions about eggs. So Chris wants to know, how long does it take an egg to hatch?
Yep.
And so how long do they sit on them for?
Yeah, so the penguins are going to sit on their eggs for around about 35 days before they hatch. But it will still be another few weeks until they start to come out of their burrows and letting us have a bit of a sticky beak at them. Unless you're like Jordan, you're lucky enough to get to go play in the penguin burrows sometimes. Well, not play, do important research, which gets the benefit of enjoying penguin chicks. My absolute favourite moment with the penguin study group was at the breeding season. There was an egg, little tiny egg, it had some cracks in it, but it hadn't yet hatched, and we could hear the chicks chirping from inside the egg, and it was just the best, absolute best experience I could have asked for with them.
That literally happened to me for the first time. I think it was about 2 weeks ago now. You can hear the chick going from inside the egg, and I nearly died of cuteness. It was so adorable.
Oh, it's ridiculous. So yeah, that's probably my best volunteering experience with the penguins is, unhatched chicks making noises. What more could you want from life? All right, we'll see. All right, we'll have a look at this one penguin, and then we will get ready to head off. If it wants to... Oh no, see, the penguins run away. He's like, no, you're not going anywhere. You've got to stay here.
There's a bit of a theme. They're being very disagreeable, aren't they, tonight, Viv?
Well, look at the penguin highways as we say goodbye. All right, I think we should head off, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow anyway. So lockdown is a lot of fun for everyone involved. I know we're all struggling. Yep. So I would just like everyone to help us out a bit and make sure that if you're using disposable masks, if you're comfortable with, you can swap to a reusable mask, which is a great way to help protect the environment. Or instead, you could cut the straps off your disposable masks when you use them. And that way, if it does somehow end up out in the environment, if it's got blown out of your rubbish bin somehow, it's not going to get other animals entangled in them. And a lot of seabirds are at a huge risk of entanglement from a lot of different things, but masks are something that we're picking up several of every single time that we're here at work, unfortunately. If there's anything else that you guys do to help the environment, help protect the penguins or seabirds, let us know in the comments and we'll check it out. I'm here again with you tomorrow, so I'll have a look tonight and see if you've given me any good ideas of things that I could do better. We can talk more about that. Jordan, have you got anything else to add?
Other than, again, we really want to have you guys back here with us at the Penguin Parade when it's safe to do so and when restrictions ease. But in the meantime, if you really want to help us with protecting our penguins and our native wildlife, please consider donating to the Penguin Foundation. We really, really appreciate it. You can adopt a penguin, not a ranger. Unfortunately, that was a bit of a joke last night. But yeah, we really appreciate any support you guys have and for jumping on and watching these live streams as well. We really appreciate it. And now I think it's time to say goodbye. What do you reckon?
I think so. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here and watching. Bye, guys.
Bye. Hug,